He taught me a lot, and I taught him nothing. But it was a friendship that was born out of Rick's love for sports, and also the terrible disease that eventually took his life, and that's ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease. I met him at Bruce's funeral. You remember Bruce, who was Tom Watson's caddy, who also died of ALS. And we struck up a fast friendship and spent a lot of time together in those ensuing years at his place in Mandarin. He was a big sports fan. He liked to play sports. He liked to talk about sports. In fact, he had a friendship with Tom Coughlin that began when his family was on a trip to Ireland, and the Coughlin family was on that same trip. A lot of talk about that today, and he and Coughlin became friends and remained friends through Tom's time with the Jaguars and even Tom's time with the Giants as well. Rick also was a big Suns fan and helped organize and sponsor the annual ALS Day, which was just last Sunday, as Rick seemed to be determined to make it through last Sunday in order to let people know about Lou Gehrig's disease. He spent a lot of time at Suns games as well, and as Rob mentioned, only missed one Jaguar game in its inception, even though he spent the last 60 or so of those in a wheelchair. Among those at the funeral today were former tennis great Mal Washington, who Rick was a tremendous supporter of the Mal Washington Foundation. Part of the eulogy as well was given by his son Mark, who said his dad never really lived by any kind of a stopwatch.
So when my dad was diagnosed with ALS, and when people tried to tell him that his game finally had a ticking clock, it should have come as no surprise to any of us that he wasn't about to change his game plan or play his position any differently than he had the day before. Dad refused to believe that his life would be determined by a stopwatch, or that his time with us ever had a buzzer. Instead, he came to believe that one day his game would just be rained out, and that he would be called home, and that he would have to leave us before it was time.
Today's service was at NAS Jax. Rick Murray proudly served in the U.S. Navy for 25 years, and he received a traditional military goodbye. Rick will be buried with full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery at a later date. One of the things he always talked about, he said he didn't want to remember as somebody who made a difference, but somebody who mattered. Yeah. There's no question about that. And he wrote a book, by the way, if you're interested in that, called Rick's Reflections, which he wrote it about 3 months ago. It's just an amazing feat for he and his wife, Sherry, to put that together. Sherry, who, by the way, is a saint. And we've said several times that Rick lost his battle with ALS. And ALS might have killed his body, but it never killed his spirit.
It certainly didn't. I mean, he was just such a fighter, and I think people can get encouragement from him.
And that's what he was dedicated to doing from the moment he was diagnosed.
I think I've run into him a couple of times at a Suns game.
Yep. He enriched my life beyond belief.
All right.
Neat life story. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.